India is in the middle of a massive digital revolution. Seriously, every time you stream a movie, buy something online, or mess around with an AI app, you're plugging into it. But all that digital magic has a very real, very physical, and super power-hungry footprint. So today, let's pull back the curtain and see what's really powering India's progress. You know, it's a question we almost never ask. We talk about the cloud like it's this invisible, magical thing floating up in the sky. But it's not. The cloud has a physical home, and it lives in these massive, windowless buildings called data centers. And right now, India is building them faster than just about anywhere else on the planet. And here's exactly why. The average data consumption for a single user in India is now over 21 gigabytes every single month. That's almost double what it was just 5 years ago. And all that data, every video you watch, every online purchase, every single AI query, it has to live somewhere. And this quote from CBRE, man, it just hits the nail on the head. We're not talking about warehouses for servers anymore. These buildings are the fundamental backbone of the entire digital economy. Without them, the startup scene, e-commerce, and for sure the AI revolution, they just couldn't happen on this kind of scale. So what's really lighting the fire under this incredible surge? Let's break down the key forces that are driving this completely unprecedented demand. Well, it's really a perfect storm of factors. First, you've got the explosion of smartphones and the rollout of 5G, which makes everything faster and easier to access. Then you have the booming e-commerce and social media scene. But the real game changer now is the crazy fast adoption of AI, which needs a ton of computational power. And on top of all that, you have government policies that are pushing for all this data to be stored right here in India. And this is where you see the sheer scale of the opportunity. Even with all this insane growth, India has just 1 megawatt of data center capacity per million users. The US, they have 51. This tells you that India isn't just growing, it's just getting warmed up. The potential for future expansion is absolutely enormous.
But okay, this digital boom has a very real, very physical consequence. It needs power. And not just a little bit of power, a lot of it. And that brings us to the core challenge, the hidden and massive energy drain of our digital world.
So get this, India's energy consumption is growing at 9% annually. Now, that number is a really big deal because it's already blowing past what the government was projecting. And one of the key reasons for this accelerated demand, you guessed it, the incredibly power-hungry data center industry. Just take a look at the curve we're seeing here. The blue bars show the projected capacity in gigawatts, and that orange line is the investment climbing right alongside it. It's not a straight line, is it? It's an exponential surge. We are talking about going from under 1 gigawatt just a few years back to a projected 17 gigawatts by 2030. That is just staggering growth. And to put that into perspective, this quote makes it crystal clear. By 2030, the power used by India's data centers alone could equal the entire peak demand of a state like Chhattisgarh. This isn't just a side note, it's like a whole new state-sized demand just appearing on the grid. And this demand for power isn't spread out evenly. Not at all. It's highly concentrated in a few key metro hubs. Think Mumbai, Hyderabad, and Chennai, which is where most of these data centers are clustered. This puts an immense, localized stress on the very urban power grids that serve millions and millions of people. So how in the world do you meet a challenge of this magnitude? Well, you respond with a plan that's just as massive, if not bigger. And India's answer is one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects happening anywhere on the planet right now. That's about $480 billion US. It's a mind-boggling figure. And that's the estimated investment opportunity in India's power sector over the next decade. It's a massive number aimed at expanding everything, generation, transmission, to meet this surging demand from industry, transport, and of course, data centers. And this really puts the whole data center boom into a much broader context. Yes, it's a key driver, but it's part of a much bigger story. India's total electricity consumption is projected to triple by 2035. So this isn't just about powering servers, it's about powering the nation's entire industrial and commercial ambition. So, to manage all this, the government is putting a really clear strategy in place. We're talking about a new national data center policy, offering huge incentives like 20-year tax breaks, setting aside special land zones near IT hubs, and, this is crucial, working directly with the power ministries to make sure these places get the stable, reliable electricity they absolutely need to operate. But here's the thing, just building more power plants is only half the battle. The other half, which you could argue is even more important, is about making the data centers themselves way more efficient. It's about working smarter, not just bigger. The key metric in this world is something called power usage effectiveness, or PUE. Okay, think of it this way. An absolutely perfect PUE of 1.0 would mean every single watt of power going into the building goes directly to the computers. Anything higher than 1.0 is power being wasted on things like cooling and lighting. So the goal is to get that number as close to 1.0 as humanly possible. And India isn't trying to reinvent the wheel here, it's smartly adopting the best practices from around the globe. For every major international standard for efficiency you can think of, from rating systems to performance benchmarks, India has developed its own counterpart, one that's tailored to its own climate and needs. So why is this so important? Well, this focus on efficiency delivers a triple win. First, it lowers operating costs for the businesses running these centers. Second, it lowers the carbon footprint. And third, by easing the overall load, it makes the entire national power grid more stable and reliable for every single person. It's a win-win-win. You know, when you step back from all the tech and the numbers, you realize this story about data centers and power grids, it's about so much more than just technology. It's really about laying the foundation for India's biggest long-term ambitions as a nation. Just look at this timeline of India's key national goals. The huge push for 500 gigawatts of clean energy by 2030, the vision of becoming a developed nation by 2047, and the massive commitment to hit net zero emissions by 2070. All of these are completely interconnected, and getting the energy and digital infrastructure right is absolutely critical to achieving every single one of them. Because that's the endgame here. Building this powerful digital backbone isn't just another infrastructure project. It's the essential engine that's required to power India's goal of becoming a $30 trillion economy and a true global leader in technology and AI. Which leaves us with the one ultimate question. The digital demand is surging ahead at an incredible, almost unbelievable pace, and the physical grid is in a flat-out race to keep up. The next decade is going to determine the winner in this monumental race between data and power.